Hey everyone, I'm Laura. I'm a yoga teacher and I'm also certified in Thai yoga bodywork. And I wanted to take a few minutes out to make a video just to kind of explain what partner yoga is. It's one of my favorite kinds of yoga, and it's really not as well known as some of the other forms of yoga. So I wanted to kind of explain exactly what we do in a partner yoga class and what you can expect if you come to one of my workshops. Now, one of the things that I really like to do is do some partner yoga and then work in some Thai massage, because it's just kind of a natural transition. You already have a partner, and it's a really fun way to experience different things together. So I think it's a really good combination to do the two within the workshop. The other reason that I really like partner yoga is because when you get down to the foundation of yoga, one of the translations that we like to follow is that yoga means union. And usually we think of that as union of the mind, body, and spirit. But in terms of doing partner yoga, you can think of it as union with your partner, with whoever you're working with. Which is one of the really great things about doing partner yoga is it's such a fun experience and it's such a bonding experience. So whoever you do end up using as your partner, you really feel closer to them when you get to the end of the workshop. So for partnered yoga, it's a lot of different postures that we put together in different ways so that it's a very different experience as compared to when you're doing the posture by yourself. One of the reasons is that you have to take your partner into consideration. You have to think about how flexible they are, how strong they are you knocking them over, are you throwing them off balance? So there's this communication that has to happen between the two people in order for it to really work. So there's a few different ways that we can orient the postures. Sometimes we do them facing toward each other. And we might be both going to the left or both going to the right, or sometimes we have one partner go left and one partner go right. So you might be on opposite sides, or you might be doing the same side at the same time. Sometimes we'll go back to back, and you get a little bit of support that way. You can assist each other to go into different postures by leaning back or leaning forward. But it's also a way of giving your partner support when we do standing postures back to back. And you do, say, your warrior posture, you have somebody to lean into. So that's a nice way to experience the standing postures and experience a warrior, which you've probably done 100 times, in a really different way when you do it with your partner. The other way that we do postures is sideways. So sometimes we'll have standing sideways, or maybe on the mat you're going sideways so that you have somebody to reach over toward to help you into that posture. Now, that goes over basically when we're doing the same poses at the same time. There's also instances where you're going to take two different poses and combine them together into really neat shapes. So sometimes we'll have one partner in child's pose and the other partner can do plank on their back or something like that. You'll have one partner in downward facing dog and the other person does a back bend over them. So it's two completely different postures put together to make these really beautiful shapes and to give you a different experience in each of those poses. The third way that we go through our partner class is by having one person actually do a posture and then the other person is adjusting. So you could do that in terms of one person going through a sun salutation and then the other partner would be giving them little adjustments and little assists as they go through their sequence. The other way is Thai yoga massage is a perfect example of that. One partner is giving and one partner is receiving, and then we would switch and have them do the same sequence on the opposite person, which is a really fun part of the workshop. And then the third option is acro yoga. If you've ever seen some of the acro poses, one partner acts as a base and the other partner is flying or lifted by the other partner. So it's this really interesting dynamic of support and a lot of trust that goes into that, which is some of the other things that kind of come into play when we're doing partnered poses. Now, there are 7 different, we call them axioms of partner yoga, which I'm taking from this book, Partner Yoga, which I got when I first started studying partnered poses. And there's really great information in there, really nice pictures of how to actually sequence and how to put different postures together. But some of the things that they talk about are how all things are interconnected, and you really feel that when you're doing a pose with another person, that you really don't experience it the same way when you're doing it by yourself. It's that feeling of interconnection with your partner. The idea of trust and communication as being really central to being successful in your postures. If you don't communicate with your partner that you have an injury or something that's bothering you and they push you a little too far, then that can cause problems. So you really need to be able to communicate things like that with your partner, or even if you just feel like you're being thrown off balance a little bit, communicate that to them so that they can compensate and you can restructure the pose so that it's successful for both of you. And then there is that element of trust, especially when we do Thai yoga massage or when you do acro yoga. You really have to trust that person who you're working with, that they're not going to drop you or they're not going to hurt you. So trust is a huge thing there. Now, number 3 is one of my favorite reasons why I like teaching partner yoga, is because it is a very playful, very fun atmosphere. There's a lot of laughter going on, and everybody has a good time. So it's a very different experience than your regular yoga practice, which can be a little bit quiet and a little bit more serious. This is all about having fun together, so very lighthearted. Number 4 is that touch and connection are basic human needs. So throughout the day, we have varying levels of how much physical contact we have with other people. Within the context of the partner workshop and the context of doing Thai massage, there's a lot of contact with your partner. And it's very soothing and very reassuring because contact with another person is something that we all crave. And I think you really see that when you go through the workshop. And especially if you're doing this with your significant other, it really creates a strong bond through touch. And number 5 is that fear and pain are great teachers. So that kind of goes back to the idea of if you have an injury or you have something that's sore, make sure you communicate that to your partner, because you don't want to go into pain. Let them be aware of that so that they can come at that with a feeling of compassion. And fear, for some people just going to the partner workshop, they're a little bit afraid. Maybe they haven't done yoga before, they're not sure if they're going to be able to do the poses. But I like to highlight the fact that you really don't need yoga experience to be able to do this workshop. It's pretty accessible to pretty much anybody. But the other place where fear comes in is being able to let go, being able to surrender to your partner. So for different postures, you really just have to kind of melt into them and let them support you. And some of that is overcoming fear and being able to trust them that they are going to be able to hold you. So that's a big thing that we come across in the workshop. Of course, number 6 is breath is life, which is the underpinning of pretty much all of our yoga, is that breath is central to what we do. And just like my regular classes, I'll tell my students, whatever posture you're doing, don't ever sacrifice your breath. The same thing comes into play in partner class. If you're in a pose and you feel like you're going so deep that your breath becomes short or choppy, then that's your signal that you want to back out a bit. Find that place where both partners can breathe freely and experience the opening and the freedom that happens in that posture. And it all comes down to the breath. And the last one is that effort and ease must be balanced for health. And this is a really good lesson for all around in life, that we have to balance effort and ease in order to stay healthy. If we overwork ourselves, illness is going to follow very quickly. And if we relax too much, same kind of thing. If we're too lazy, then we're not going to be healthy. It's about finding that balance of effort and ease. When you're doing yoga with a partner, you have to also find that balance, because if you're trying too hard, you might knock them over. If you're not trying hard enough, you're not carrying your weight in that posture and you're overworking your partner. So it's all about creating that balance so that both of you are happy and able to experience that pose together. Now, one of my favorite quotes related to partner yoga is this quote down here at the bottom that says, like any chemical reaction, when two things make contact, both are transformed. And I think this is such a great concept in terms of doing partner yoga, because for the people who have done yoga for a long time and they're familiar with all the different poses, they're always surprised that when they do the exact same pose but with somebody assisting them, it's such a different experience, it's such a different feeling in your body, your breath changes, and there's all these different elements that we're working on that maybe aren't as clear or as strong when you do your individual practice. Communication, of course, being the one that I highlighted, compassion, that you're always aware of what the other person's experience is in that posture and taking that into account as you move them. It creates a really nice feeling of intimacy with your partner. Again, that physical touch that we all crave, that we really don't get that much of on a daily basis. There's a lot of that when you do a partner pose or when you're doing the Thai massage. And in the end, it's that great feeling of bonding. So no matter who your partner is, and I've had parents and siblings, I've had brothers and sisters, I've had husbands and wives, boyfriends and girlfriends, all different partners, even just a friend that you want to take to the workshop. So you can really do it with anybody. And at the end, you feel like your relationship is stronger because you've gone through all of the play and all of the work and all of the communication together. So it's a really nice result when you get to the end of the class together. Reach the arms up over their head and interlace the fingers. So there's a couple different ways that we can do this. You can hold on to the wrists and just give a little pull up. Make sure that you're using your legs to lift and not your back. The other way to do this is to actually put your head underneath, have them hold onto the base of your neck, and then you can almost lift them up off the floor.
You're good. Just focus.
Release that. You're going to keep the hands together. Then the elbows out to the sides, hands to the back of the head. Good. Now, same thing like we started. Take your knees right into the back of their shoulder blades. Hands come into the front of the arms, and you're going to draw them back over your legs to open up the chest. For the Thai massage, that is usually most people's favorite part of the experience, and they don't want it to end when we go through that sequence, because it is a combination of doing yoga passively and using massage techniques with your partner. So you'll put them into different positions and you're doing all the work to move them and position them, and then you give them a little massage, and usually by the end they're just floating in heaven. But then we switch partners, so then you have to do a little bit of work. And what I really like to send home as a message with that is, especially for people who live together, if you're doing it with your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, when you're at home, if you have a sore back or your shoulder's bothering you, you can get to that point where you're like, hey, remember that sequence that we did in partner yoga? Can you do that stretch on my back, or can you give me that little massage? So it's something that you can learn and then take home and use in your regular day-to-day life. And I think that's going to create a carryover of that bond that you created during the workshop. So I hope that this explains and makes the idea of partner yoga a little bit clearer, and I hope that you are planning on taking one of my workshops. We're going to try to do every second Sunday at Hummingbird Yoga in Linwood, New Jersey. So if you're interested, you can check out my website, find out all the information on the different workshops. If you can't make it to the studio, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll be putting up lots of different partner poses and partner sequences on there for you to check out. So, thank you.